at the home of Linda Vater, and Linda, you have this beautiful Tudor-style home, and I really see the architecture reflected in your landscape. I assume that's intentional.
It is very intentional. I'm very design-driven, as I love that tension between things that are tightly clipped and then things that are kind of billowy, which is also a trademark of English gardens. I like what I call soft hardscape, the use of gravel and flagstone, natural materials that kind of organically blend in with the different kinds of foliage and textures and shapes and forms. It's all about, to me, shape and form and rhythm and pattern. Everything else in terms of what plants you use and where you decide to place things are secondary.
And that's really the crux of design. Designing for design's sake rather than being a gardener per se, just gardening.
Yeah, and I think most of us, when we first start to garden, what are we drawn to? We're drawn to masses of color. And it seems counterintuitive that that sometimes should be the last element that you take into account, not the first element. And sometimes I think it's difficult for us to practice the discipline that we need to get the bones in place and reflect the architecture of the home and think about how the space will be used. And then the fun stuff, or what most people think of the fun stuff, the color and the flowers and the vegetables, that can kind of come later.
And here you have a really restricted color scheme which works beautifully, the chartreuse and the purple.
Yes, I really love that. You had said earlier, and I completely agree, that plants that are variegated or that are light colored can really illuminate a dark space. And I love chartreuse, and it's probably my favorite color combination. Lavenders, purples, chartreuses, they just really blend beautifully together. And I think I did a lot of traveling when I first started to garden in Europe and in English gardens, and it seemed that this was a very popular color palette, and I fell in love with it and haven't gone back.
Well, let's see how you've used this in the backyard as well.
Happy to show you.
With regards to European design, your knot garden in the back is quintessential European.
Oh, isn't it? I went to Barnsley House, the garden of Rosemary Very in the Cotswolds, and of course hers is far more elaborate than mine and far larger in scale, but nevertheless I came back with that idea, and I don't know if you can tell, but it's two stylized hearts that frame one another with a great focal point in the middle that hosts all different things. Scarecrows, alliums, right now I've just got a simple urn, but it's nice, it gives a nice framework. It always looks good. In the winter, the framework of box always looks good. And then you can play around with vegetables and flowers and ornamentals inside each quadrant. It also keeps you honest. It's very easy to maintain because you can do it a section at a time.
Oh, that's a nice approach to gardening.
Yeah, it really is.
Little easy to manipulate spaces.
Break it up. Save your back and your sanity.
And you have just wonderful transitions throughout from one space to the next.
Thank you.
Here we have a really nice example of that tension you talked about with the clipped boxwoods.
Yeah, it's kind of
wild.
a reflection of English gardening where things that are closer to the house tend to be more manicured and clipped, and the farther away you get from the house, they become a little more wild. And I just love that tension. I love the strong structure and the architecture of a really strong clipped form against things that are blousy and billowy and more romantic. And in seasons when our gardens look less than their best, and in Oklahoma that can be pretty frequently, it really helps to have that structure because it always looks good even if the surrounding flowers aren't quite so presentable.
Well, Linda, your backyard, you know, we're in a small urban lot, but you've done such a beautiful job of creating usable spaces and with their own sort of identity, own little room.
Yes, and I mean, people ask me, well, do you ever sit? And no, I don't sit, but I have to say that this is an extension of our home. It is a very usable space for a variety of different reasons. We entertain a lot, and it has to be very functional and very practical. So consequently, you can kind of get a twofer by blending that practicality of, for example, the flagstone in the turf with that kind of English aesthetic of the beautiful organic natural quality of the stepping stones and the flagstones against the vibrant green of the grass.
Every detail here is done just beautifully. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Well, thank you for coming.